everybody. All right, so I'm going to go over today's lesson. This is Monday the 7th. So this morning we started off with our Go Noodle video and we started reading A Nutty Nutcracker Christmas. We read the first part of it and we'll finish tomorrow. Then in math today we did lesson 7.7 and this is multi-step multiplication problems and the pages are here. Then for independent work, students worked on page 258, 7 through 12. When they were done, they worked on eSpark, and then I had group B and group C working with me on their daily math review. So for our lesson today, we looked at this problem. Let me move me. Where should I go? How about up here? All right, so our problem today that we looked at first was this one right here. It says at the C Park, one section in the stadium has 9 rows with 18 seats in each row. And in the center of each of the first 6 rows, 8 seats are in the splash zone. How many seats are not in the splash zone? So we filled in this. So let me get, all right, so it says I need to find the number of seats that, and if you go to the question, we're looking, it says how many seats are not. So here we filled in that are not in the splash zone. And then it's breaking down the information that's given to us. So if you look at the question, it says there are 9 rows with 18 seats. And that is a horrible 8 there. Let's see if I can make this better. There. Oh, that's a little better. All right, then it says there are 6 rows with 8 seats. I'm getting this all from the problem here. So 9 rows with 18, 6 with 8. And our plan is what we're going to do in order to solve this. So we can multiply. I'm just going to put M for multiply to find both the number of seats. And then, so the first thing we're going to do is multiply this part right here, 18 times 9. So I'm going to show one way, and then on the next problem, I'll show another way. So 18 times 9 is the same. If I do distributive property, this is the same as the 1 right here has a value of 10 times, I'm going to multiply it by the 9. And then I'm going to take the 8, and I'm going to do 8 times 9. So 10 times 9 is 90. 8 times 9 is 72. Then I'm going to add these up. 0 and 2 is 2, and 9 and 7 is 16. So 162 for the first part. So that's the total seats. Now we've got this middle section right here, that's the splash zone, and they're wanting us to figure out, okay, if that's an 8 by 6, was it? Yes, 6 by 8 or 8 by 6, whatever it was. No, go. Hold on, I got my spray bottle for my dogs. Get out of here, go. Begging for food. All right, so we have to get that middle part taken out so that we can see how much, how many seats are not in the splash zone. So that one right there, we're going to multiply 8 times 6. And then in order to see what that is, once we take it out, we're going to take the 162, subtract the 48. Oh, let me make some room up here. Let me get rid of, let's see, make this bigger. All right, let me make some room over here. Get rid of all that. All right, now we got space. All right, so what was it? I think it was 162 minus 48. And 2 minus 8, we can't do that. So we're going to go next door, turn the 6 into a 5. The 2 becomes a 12. 8, if we count backwards, or not count backwards, count forwards till we get to 12. So 8, put 8 in your head. 9, 10, 11, 12, that's 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down your 1 for 114. So the number of seats that are not in that splash zone would be 114. Then we did the second one here. This was, we had to do a little bit more on our own. So we applied the same kind of technique that we were doing on the other one. So it's kind of, there's a lot of things that are similar in here. So we talked about, you know, what they had in common. And then this one says, at the Sea Park, one section of the Shark Theater has 8 rows with 14 seats in each row. And in the middle section, or in the middle of the section, 4 rows of 6 seats are reserved. How many seats are not reserved? So here, what do I need to find? We're looking for, if you go to the question here, how many, let me get my pen here. We're looking for how many seats are not, how many seats are not reserved? Okay, so that right there is for that box there. Then it says, what information am I given? We're given that the Shark Theater has 8 rows with 14 seats in each row. So this is, I'm going to put T for total. So this is 8 rows with 14 seats. Then in the middle section, we've got 4 rows. So I'm going to put middle, or no, I'm not going to put middle. I'm going to put part, and do total and parts. So 4 rows and 6 seats. So here we have a total, we have a part, we're wanting the part that's not reserved. So we have to, eventually, we'll have to take the one part away from the total and see what's left. And so to find our total, we're going to do 14 times 6, or 14 times 8. So here I'm going to go and multiply this using standard algorithm. So 4 times 8, we're doing this right here, is 32. And then when I do 8 times the 1, we know it's not a 1, it's actually a 10 because it's in the tens place. So we're going to put the 0, and then 8 times 1 is 8. And then we add those up. 2 and 0 is 2, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 112 is the total. Oh, and down here, our plan, just like before, we're going to multiply the total, those rows by the seats, and we'll get the total number of seats. And then we have to multiply this, do the same thing for getting that part. So then we're going to do 6 times 4, or 4 times 6, which is 24. And then to find out how many are not reserved, so these are the part, this right here is the part that are reserved, if you look right here in the problem. So if this is our total number of seats, and this is how many are reserved, then in order to solve and get our final, we have to take the total, subtract the part, and when we do that, we can't do 2 minus 4, so we have to go next door. That turns into a 0. This turns into a 12. 12 minus 4, put 4 in your head, count forward till you get to 12. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 8. Then 0 minus 2, I can't do that. So cross out the 1. That comes a 0. That comes a 10. And then 10 minus 2 is 8. And so the ones that were not reserved is 88 seats. Okay. All right, so pause that if you need that anymore. And then for our book, we went and we looked at page 258. And this was the independent work that the students did. And so I'm worried I got the wrong number on the top, so let me make sure. Nope, that was right. 162. All right, I was worried when I erased it that I wrote down the wrong number. I just want to make sure. All right, so these were the problems that the students did from or for their independent work. So they had 7 through 12. And on Google Classroom, there is under classwork, go into the Mango where it says week 16, and they have Monday, math through Friday. And this assignment right here is where they're going to record their answers from the book. So this is our lesson for Monday. The first box is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So 5 boxes for each day of the week. This was their independent work, and this is where they enter their answers for that page 258. So again, please just put the letter. Don't put the whole number. Just the letter that goes with what you chose. All right, so that was math. And then let me get out of all this math real quick. For reading today, we reviewed our assessment and did our retest. So in Seesaw, we looked at the poetry today. And I'm not going to go over the informational one. It was a 2-part. Overall, we did really, really well on the informational. Almost everybody had A's and B's, so I'm not going to go over that one with everybody since everybody did, or mostly everybody did really, really well. I'll probably just, the ones that didn't do so hot, we'll just do that in small group. But poetry was a different story. We had some trouble with poetry. So we looked at that today. And a lot of it is we've just got to get it in our heads that with poetry, they're not coming out and giving you all these literal meanings about what all this means. You have to think, all right, why did the author put it this way? Why did they do certain things? Like in this one, there was some certain things that were capitalized, and you had to think about why it would be written like that, and just really stop and analyze and think about what it is you're reading, and really visualize the story, and just really try to make sure that you're understanding what's happening before you go and move on to any kind of question. You can't just read it through one time and say, okay, give me all the questions. You have to read it through, and then you have to go back and you have to really break it down. So that's what we did today. So this is called Friends, and it's by Abby Brown. It says, how good to lie a little while and look up through the tree. The sky is like a kind big smile bent sweetly over me. The sunshine flickers through the lace of leaves above my head and kisses me upon the face like mother before bed. The wind comes stealing over the grass to whisper pretty things, and though I cannot see him pass, I feel his careful wings. So many gentle friends are near, with whom one can scarcely see. A child should never feel a fear wherever he may be. All right, so you read it through one time just to read it. Now we're going to go back. We're going to look at this first stanza, and we're really going to think about what it is that's going on. So it says, how good to lie a little while and look up through the tree. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to think. Okay, I'm picturing somebody, and I see that it says how good to lie. So they're lying. I'm picturing them lying down. And I picture them, they're looking up through the tree. So I picture like the branches and everything, and they're looking through it. It says the sky is like a kind big smile, bent sweetly over me. So they're looking up through the trees, they see the sky there. Stanza 2, the sunshine flickers. So I'm thinking, okay, this is morning, afternoon time. Flickers through the lace of leaves above my head. So lace, I showed, because they didn't know what that meant. So I showed everybody a picture of lace. So here's lace, like on You've probably seen it on different clothing and stuff like that. It's just a really delicate type of fabric. And so he's talking about the leaves having that just intricate um, detail on the leaves of what they look like. And the sunshine is flickering as the sunshine's shining through on him. Um, that's what he's seeing. And it says the sun, it's talking about the sunshine. It kisses me upon the face. And with this one, if you've ever heard the phrase like sun kissed, like if you go outside like in the summer and you come back in and you're all red, like I tell Kian all the time, you look like you got sun kissed. It just means like you got a little pink, a little red from the sun. Like you're not full on burnt. It's just a little kiss, like a little peck, right? And so it says like mother before bed. So I'm picturing he's laying down, the sun's coming through, it's he can see the leaves all around and everything. The sunshine comes through. He can feel that warmth from the sun on his face, like a warm kiss from your mom before bed. Go down to stanza 3. The wind comes stealing. Let me pull this down. The wind comes stealing over the grass. This one right here is a old way of saying over. The wind comes stealing over the grass to whisper pretty things. And for this one, let me go here. I played a YouTube video here of the wind howling. So I'm sure you've heard the noises that wind can make. So here's one. So you can hear the wind. So it's saying the the wind comes the wind comes stealing over the grass to whisper pretty things. So I'm just imagining the wind. If you look outside, you can't see it, but you could picture the grass, knowing that it's that the wind is coming because maybe the grass is moving, and it's whispering pretty things. So he can, I'm picturing the person, whoever's under that tree, they can hear the wind as it's blowing. And then it says, and though I cannot see him pass, and here we talked about the him. If you look here, look how on each of these things have words that shouldn't be capitalized that are. And this is kind of a freedom that authors have. They don't always have to follow rules. They can change to make a point about something. So when it has sky, sunshine, wind, and then when we get down here, friends, these words, if we wrote them in class, we wouldn't capitalize. I would get onto you if you capitalized them. But in this poem, they're giving these human characteristics to the sunshine and to the wind and to the sky. And when it says friends, the friends he's talking about are the sunshine, the wind, and the sky. So they're giving these human characteristics to these things. So they're capitalizing them like you would your own name. So it says, even though I cannot see him, the him is the wind. So even though I can't see the wind pass, I feel his careful wings. So even though I can't see him, I can feel that the wind's presence. Then it says, so many gentle friends are near, whom one can scarcely see. A child should never feel a fear wherever he may be. So the friends, again, these friends that he's referring to, that pattern of these words that are in capital letters, sunshine, sky, wind, those are the friends. And we talked about this word right here, so many gentle friends. That kind of tells me a lot. Like when he talks about the sky and he says the sky is gentle, okay, I know it's not storming. I know the sun. If I describe the sky and the sun and the sunshine and all that is gentle, I know it's not like a Texas summer with like the sun beating down heat and super, super hot. He just said he got like a little bit, like a kiss upon his face. So it's sunny, but it's not like our summers where it's like just miserable. It sounds, when he says gentle, it sounds like a nice day. Like it's windy, but it's not overpowering. Like it's not knocking me over. things like that. So that word gentle helps me understand. Oops, I messed up here. This is 3 and this is 4. So it kind of helps me understand like what it's like around him. So again, I read it through. I read it just to read it. Then I read it stanza by stanza, and then even when I was in within a stanza, I only read it sentence by sentence, and I just took it piece by piece by piece. And I really thought, okay, when he says the wind is whispering pretty things, like what does that mean? Like how does a wind whisper pretty things? And I thought, okay, oh, wind, I can I can sometimes hear when it's windy outside. Maybe that's, and so I'm having those thoughts all through my head as I break this down. So again, you have to do that work and you have to think about it. I haven't even looked at a question yet. I've just kind of tried to process what's going on. And the whole time I've got like this movie, like this image in my head. And as soon as I get information, like when I heard about the sunshine flickering through the lace of the leaves above my head, boom, an image pops into my brain and I can close my eyes and I can think about what exactly that looks like. Okay. And so you have to do that. And you have to, that will help once you get to these comprehension questions. So we went through and we talked about a couple of these. A big one that I am just kind of, I've said it so many times, this kind of question right here, and I think no, that was the only one on this one. We've had this style of question on every test probably that we've taken. I've seen it so many times. And we've got some stubborn ones that want to say, oh, stealing. I know what stealing means. Stealing means when you take something without permission. And they just go pick a definition that they think in their head that's what stealing means. Well, all 4 of these things right here mean stealing. So you can't say one is the right one without looking at the like you can't do that. You can't just go with what you think stealing is. There's multiple entries in the dictionary for the word stealing. So it says which one best matches. Like I'm in my head, I'm thinking we're not even reading this part right here. We're just saying, oh, I know what stealing means. Boom. And then you get it wrong and you're like, wait a minute. Okay, so please look at what it says. The definition best matches the way the word stealing is used in line 9. Well, to look at line 9, I've got to go back. Here's line 9 right here. The wind comes stealing over the grass. Okay, so then I have to go back and I have to say, okay, which one of those definitions matches the wind as it's going over the grass like that? And the one that I originally thought doesn't really match. The wind's not taking something without permission. That's not what's going on in the poem. So you really have to think about how is it used in the story, not just what you think that word means. Okay, we got to get over that. We have to think about how it's used in the story. Next one we talked about, so we talked about this one as I was reading it. This word simile, we've talked about that in class a lot. You're using the word like or as to make a comparison. So it's saying they included a simile in stanza 2. So again, I marked my stanzas. You have to know which one stanza 2 is. So here's stanza 2. Remember, it kind of reminds me of a paragraph there. So the second part here, I'm looking for the word like or as. So it says the sunshine flickers through the lace of the leaves above my head and kisses me upon the face. Like, so I'm going to highlight that, like mother before bed. So that simile right there, it's asking me, if you go back to the question, it's asking me, or it's saying, it suggests that the sunshine is what? So again, you don't just put what you think the sunshine is, okay? Yes, the sunshine is bright. Yes, the sunshine is hot. Yes, I imagine if you're near it, it would be pretty scary. Okay. So, yes, it's like I could justify each one of those. You have to go back to the story and look for what's the simile that they used? What are they comparing it with? Okay. Here, oh, no, I was wrong. Here's another one of the dictionary entries. Okay, so again, that word lie, there's 4 of them, 4 entries. You have to find the one they're using in line 1. Next, another simile. This word right here, personification. Personification. All right, we talked about this word. We highlighted that word person within it. That's when it's giving, so when it says the sky is like a big, or I'm sorry, the sky is like a kind big smile. Again, they've capitalized the word sky. It's like it has a kind big smile. Those are humans are the ones that have kind big smiles. So it's the sky doesn't smile. That's a human quality. That's a human trait that we do. And so it's personification, highlight that word person in there to remind you that's giving human qualities to things that that don't normally have them. All right, so go through here and look at these again and make those corrections. But again, please go back to your, you should be referencing this page on every single question. Keep going back to this page 3. And I've only done like 2 questions and I already have markings all over this. I should not, just like a math test, if you handed me a math test and it had no math all over it, but you just had magic answers that you magically got, I would hand it right back. Same thing with this. There should be markings all over this where you're jotting down like how I've got all this highlighting and I'm writing out notes and I'm marking things and I'm, you know, putting down my thoughts. Okay, I know similes, talking about like or as, like all of those little things I should see evidence of. And that's just, to me, when I see that, that's just showing me like, okay, you recognize what a simile is. You recognize that we need to make sure that we, pay attention to this special part right here. And that's just, for me, kind of evidence of your thinking. So show me, that's why I had you do it on Seesaw, because I wanted to see all that. So show me that you're, show me that evidence of your thinking, like I said. All right, so we did that. Then in writing today, we looked at this. All right, so the prompt that I used, this was just a teacher example. So the prompt that I used was this one here. It says, read the information in the box below. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. And it says, think about what happens in your home on Christmas Eve. And then it says, write about what it's like to be a member of your family on Christmas Eve night. Explain what happens before you go to bed. So here I did some brainstorming, and that was what we did today. So if you look on our agenda under the writing, it's just brainstorming ideas. So I jotted down some things my family does at Christmas or on Christmas Eve, and these aren't complete sentences. The capitalization's all wrong. Like, I'm not worried about any of that. It's just a brain dump. So you're just taking, okay, I know I have to write about Christmas Eve. I'm going to take everything I can think about Christmas Eve and I'm just going to jot it down. Okay. Maybe some of the things you use, maybe some of the things you're like, you know what? Once I start typing all this out and putting it in, I don't really like it, so I'm going to take that out. It's just to get ideas out on paper. Okay. So we brainstormed, we did that. So then on page 2, I went ahead and wrote out my story so I could show all the pieces, but we're not going to actually start working on the introduction till tomorrow. So mine says, does your family do anything special on Christmas Eve night? The night before Christmas, my family has special traditions that we do each year. I couldn't imagine skipping any of these before going off to bed. Keep reading to find out what it's like to be a member of my family on Christmas Eve night, and I bet you find out that we have some of the same traditions and I bet you might find that we have some traditions that are the same. All right, so that was my introduction. Then I said, everybody knows that Santa likes his milk and cookies. So my family puts out a plate of cookies and milk for him. We use the same holiday plate and milk jug each year. And when we get it out, it reminds me of times that we've used in the past. You also can't forget about Santa's reindeer. We make sure we leave a few carrots out for them. Then that was my first body paragraph. Then my second one says, before bed, we also let my son open one gift. This is usually a new holiday book. With the fire burning, we cozy up on the couch and read the story together as a family. Our favorite books are the silly ones, but we also enjoy classics like The Nightmare. I keep saying The Nightmare, The Night Before Christmas. All right, I did the same thing in class. All right. My favorite tradition that we do before bed is drive around and look at lights. So this is my third body paragraph. We put on our Christmas pajamas, coats, hats, and gloves and pile into the car, and we drive around and look at all the holiday lights while singing our favorite Christmas carols. Our favorite neighborhood to go look at them is called Windcrest. Some of their streets have different themes, and it's so popular that sometimes there are lines to get into the neighborhood. And then that was my third. And so then my conclusion says, one of the things that makes the holiday so special are the people that I share it with. I love spending time with them and doing each of these traditions on Christmas Eve before we go to bed. Did we have any traditions that were the same, or does your family celebrate in a different way? Whatever you do, make sure it's with the ones you love and care about. All right, so that was mine. And then the students have some choices. So pages 3 through 10 are 3, 6, 7, 8. So they've got 8 prompts to choose from. So please do not think that we're writing all of these. You're picking one. So some of them are about Christmas. I know some of us don't celebrate Christmas, so there's a snowman one on there as well. So pick which one you want. So let's say if you want number 5, then you're going to go through and you're going to delete the other pages, and you're only going to keep this page 5 up. So you would delete this one, you would delete this one, this one, this one, and so on. So just pick one, and that's the one you're going to keep and write about. And then that's the one that you did your brainstorming about today. Then the second part, and the brainstorming has its own page right here. The second thing we did is we looked at commas to offset non-essential information. So when you have a sentence and it makes perfect sense without a certain word or phrase, you can usually offset it with commas. So for example, here it says his uncle, who was a pilot in the Air Force, visited him yesterday. Well, this part right here, who was a pilot in the Air Force, that part is non-essential, meaning I don't need it to make this, like, if I just said his uncle visited him yesterday, that's a perfectly written sentence. But as a writer, if I want to give them more information and I want to say something else about the uncle and add that in, I would say his uncle, comma, who was a pilot in the Air Force, comma, visited him yesterday. So it's just offsetting that, giving that pause to kind of let the reader process what it is that you're saying. So over here, we did these. So the first one, you know what, I'm not going to type all these out. I'm just going to, we typed them out in class, but just to save time, I'm just going to write, and then you guys can fix them and make sure all 4 of these get done. So mine needs to be capitalized, Elizabeth needs to be capitalized, and a period needs to be at the end. So on every single one of these, all beginning sentences, make sure you check them. All of them need punctuation at the end. Be careful, some of them are asking a question, and so they would need a question mark. And then every time you see a name, Julia, Braden, Marco, all those names, they're specific people, so they all need to be capitalized. Then the next thing we did was with the commas. So when it says my oldest sister Elizabeth is also an airplane pilot, the part right here, my oldest sister is also an airplane pilot, you can take out Elizabeth. So here we're going to have my oldest sister, comma, Elizabeth, comma, is also an airplane pilot. Then we did Julia right here. It says Julia, comma, a 21-year-old woman from Paris, comma, works as a flight attendant. So let me zoom in here. Over here. So Julia, comma, and then I'm giving information about who Julia is. She's a 21-year-old woman from Paris, comma, works as a flight attendant. So those commas are kind of, I think of them as like a little like they're holding in that non-essential information. So Julia, comma, a 21-year-old. And then of course, Julia needs to be capitalized in that period at the end. Okay, so we did those 4. And that was everything for writing. And then for science today, we took some notes on evaporation. All right, so we took notes on evaporation, and then we worked on Scratch doing some coding to show evaporation. And then the code part that we did today was adding the arrows to make, you can't see evaporation happening. So when we draw it in diagrams and stuff, it's usually represented with arrows going up into the sky showing the direction that the water vapor is moving. And so we did that, and we had the arrows move, and then we also added the text to speech. And so the part on here, so the part on here that we took on the notes was about evaporation, about how when you've got water, and I can send these if you need the notes. I don't have them with me right now, but I can send them to you if you need, so please let me know. But they were just about if you have water in the ocean, evaporation is mostly happening in the oceans because the surface area is so much more. But it's also happening, if it rains and you get a puddle outside, the puddle's not going to stay there forever. It's eventually going to evaporate, and you're not going to, you could go out there the next day or after sunny afternoon and the puddle's gone. And so it doesn't just disappear, it turns into a gas and starts rising up into the sky. And so with evaporation, you're going from a liquid, so picture liquid in the puddle or liquid in a lake or a river or an ocean, it doesn't matter. Okay, so even just a cup from, a cup, you leave a cup of water outside for a while. You've got that liquid water, and then the sun is heating it, and it's turning the liquid water into a gas, and the gas we call water vapor. So in Scratch, we move me over here. All right, so if you go up to this folder here, you can get your projects, and then you click See Inside. And so I showed the kids mine that I did, and I encourage them to do their own with their own blocks. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine. If it does, that's fine. Some of us are just starting with this, but some of us that have some experience with it, I kind of just challenge them to try some things on their own. So we had a couple hiccups today because we weren't listening when Miss Snyder was going over some directions, but I want to make sure that with this there's a stage. So when your stage first starts off, it's just this white background. Okay, so this white that's in the background here, it's just plain white. And some of them were putting everything on the stage. Well, if you have everything as the stage is like your backdrop, like your background. That's not going to be moving all around. The sprite, these things down here, this is what's moving all around. So you have this little Scratch guy, the little cat, and you can click this and you can already choose something that's already there. Like if I wanted to choose the sun, or I could type in cloud, and there's some clouds. So I could put those in as my sprite, or I can click the cat and scroll up to this paintbrush, and I can draw my own. So on mine, I just drew my own, and they're all right here. So I can go scroll down and I can click them. I've got the water, I've got the clouds, the arrows, I've got the left rain that's going to show up in a minute, the right rain. Um, I've got my sun. So I've got all these different sprites, and I want you to think of them as like layers. So you've got your background, and then on top of the background, you're going to put, like I put my cloud, then I put my water, and then my arrows are on top of my water. So now I can go in and I can code each one of these things individual. If you just put them on a stage and they're all stuck together on one layer, you can't have all these different things moving around and doing different stuff and having all those different controls for those different, like we did with the sprites. So here, we worked with evaporation. So our notes were on evaporation. Tomorrow we'll do condensation, then we'll get into precipitation. So we're taking a day at a time. So last week, students were asked, and I showed them how to do this all last week. Last week, they were asked to make all of these different sprites. So they should have one for their water, one for their clouds, one for their arrows, and so on. Then I showed them they can click here. So if I click on water, it used to say Sprite 1, and I changed it and I titled it water. So then when I'm doing the coding and I go to these drop down menus, it's easy to find which sprite I'm referring to. So sometimes I want certain things to move towards another sprite. And if it just says like Sprite 1, Sprite 2, Sprite 3, it can kind of be confusing and you have to keep going back and forth and looking at it. But if you rename them, then it makes them easier to find and locate. So I changed all my names by clicking right here. And then, so for today, we did the coding for the arrows. So when I click on arrows, this is the coding that I have for them. And again, yours does not have to look exactly like mine. This is just what I did. But on mine, whenever I click the green arrow and then I push E.
Evaporation is the process by which water changes from a liquid to a gas or vapor.
So it speaks and then it glides up for 4 seconds, it waits for half a second, and then it goes back to my starting coordinates. So here, this is that part right here. I'm clicking this. If E is pressed, then this voice happens here. And to get the voice, you have to get the voice, you go over here to this blue at the bottom of My Blocks and you click it, and this is how you add extensions. So just like you guys added the cursor extension, this is just another one for Scratch. So it's text to speech right here on the top right. So you click this, and then that lets you have these blocks. So whenever you go to My Blocks, you've added the text to speech block. So here you can set the voice. All right. So it's also down at the bottom here. So you have your you can set the voice to different options here, and then you can set the language, and then when you put here the speak, it says hello, but you can change it, and that's where we use the notes that we took about how evaporation is the process by which water changes from a liquid to a gas. So you want that information in there. We're not just making cute little arrows and stuff. I wanted it to teach. So make sure you have that speaking or somehow to where you're sharing information, that teaching piece where you're sharing what evaporation actually is. And then with the movement, then this blue right here. So blue, if you go to each one of the sides over here is different controls. So if you want motion for something to move, you're going to click on the blue, and then you can scroll through and you can find all of these here are all things that have to do with different movements. So I glided to the sky, which the sky on mine is one of my sprites. So it's right here, and it's actually, I made it just look the same as the background just to show the direction that my my arrows are going. So they're gliding up towards the sky for 4 seconds. They're waiting. And then this part right here, students had to keep dragging like their arrows. They would get their arrows to move up, and then they would have to keep dragging them back down each time. So this motion block right here, you have your X and Y coordinates. And so if you look over here in this little control box, You have your X, which is your horizontal, and your Y, which is your vertical here. And you have my starting for my arrows is 35, and then the Y is set to negative 120. And so if I want my arrows to go back, like let's look at it again. So watch them as they rise, and then watch how I don't have to click and drag them back down. They just, I have them go to that starting position. So watch one more time. So I click the green right here, and then it's not going to do anything until I press E. So I press E.
Evaporation is the process by which water changes from a liquid to a gas or vapor.
So it speaks, then they glide, then it waits, and then it comes back down. So I don't have to keep dragging it down, and then it stops. All right, so that was for evaporation. So again, you want the explanation of what evaporation is, and then you can add, the movement or however you want to design it to show that water vapor, once it turns from a liquid to a gas, it starts to rise up into the sky. So that was that, and I'm going to just save that and then X out of that. And then for social studies today, we did our current day, so all of that's uploaded to Google Classroom. Right here, Social Studies Week 16, Alamo. So we did the first part on Monday, and then here's eSpark right here. We'll use that tomorrow. I'm just making sure. Oh, I forgot to talk about the independent work. So going back to reading. All right, so reading right here, week 16 and 17, Christmas Around the World. This was what students did for their independent work for reading today. So there's the first page. If you look here, let me move me over here. 12/7, which is today for Monday. It was the United States and Canada. So there was a reading, and then there's 5 questions here. And then once they were done, they went and they did the eSpark. So I think that was everything. Nope, there's one more thing I forgot about reading. All right, let me go down. All right, the read aloud. The read aloud for this week is a recording. So it's holidays around the world. So you're recording yourself reading each page. So every single page should have a recording on it. And then this time there's discussion questions. So when you go through, you'll see these little squares, and they've got a little T right here. It says holidays around the world. So there's little just questions about the page you just read. So you can either respond in text, or you can respond. You can do it on the video as you're recording and talk about each one of those. I think there's 6 of them. Oh, excuse me. So there's 6 of them, I believe, total. So make sure each of those get done as well. And then now I think I have everything. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. Please read your message about this Friday. So this Friday from 3:15 to 4, I'm going to be outside the school handing out the kids presents. So make sure you're able to come and try to get that planned to meet me. And I'll also have some things in there for some crafts and activities we're going to do the following week. So you want to make sure you pick up your bag on Friday. And if you have any questions, please let me know. All right, thanks, guys.